Hello and welcome to today's historic best of 3 deck tech and gameplay video. Today's video is Mardu Humans. Mardu Humans is, as the name would suggest, a Mardu deck that is heavily human themed with a slight little sub-theme of legendary humans, where our human package is headed by General Kudro of Drannith. Basically, a white and a black for a 3/3 legendary human soldier that gives other humans +1/+1. Also, whenever the general or another human enters the battlefield under our control, we exile a target card from an opponent's graveyard. So it's nice to deal with the occasional Cauldron Familiar or random spells in a Rakdos deck, or just cards like a Kroxa himself. We can also, with Kudro, pay 2 and sacrifice 2 other humans to destroy a target creature with power 4 or greater. So our relatively small board can be cashed in to deal with an opposing really big threat that we don't think we have the ability to answer. Our other humans are, we run 2 Judith Scourge, or the Scourge Diva, 1 a black or red for 2/2 legendary human shaman, where other creatures get a static +1 power buff, and whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Judith deals 1 damage to any target. Besides being a legendary human, and also giving a sort of lord effect, Judith allows what would otherwise be terribly painful removal and board sweepers to sort of be a little less painful, as you are able, when Judith is on the board, to cash in the killed creatures for a little bit of damage wherever it needs to go. We also run 4 Generals Enforcers, a white and a black for a 2/3 human soldier that gives legendary humans indestructible, which is where our legendary human sub-theme comes from. As well as, for 2 a white and a black, you can exile a card from a graveyard, and if it was a creature card, you make a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Besides being a good body, which is just a 2-mana 2/3, being a human, which our deck already enjoys, as well as enabling a sub-theme of legendary humans, we can also, much like General Kudro, for a small payment, being able to exile cards from an opposing graveyard, and if they're creatures, we can also make even more human soldiers. We are also running 2 Kari Skyship Raiders, 1 in a red for a 1/3 legendary human pirate with first strike and menace, and when Kari attacks, create Ragavan, a legendary 2/1 red monkey creature token. It enters the battlefield tapped and attacking, and then you exile the token at the end of combat. Kari is, like everything else, is also a human, also happens to be legendary, is a nice 2-drop that is a relatively evasive threat. Having first strike and menace makes her a pain in the butt to block, as well as Ragavan entering the battlefield every time it attacks helps to apply additional pressure to our opponent's board. We also run 2 Thalia Guardian of Thraben, which is a 1 in a white for a 2/1 legendary human soldier with first strike, and the effect of non-creature spells costs 1 more to cast. Thalia is, again, a legendary creature, and is a human, as well as being just a good body. A 2-mana 2/1 first strike is a very good body for the cost, as well as the non-creature tax being very useful, since we, as a creature-based deck, would very much like to push back opposing removal or sweepers an extra turn if we can, since sometimes an extra win can come down to 1 or 2 additional, or a good win can come down from an extra turn or 2 attacking with your board. Now, with the humans out of the way, we shall move on to the removal cards. We run 4 Dire Tactics, which is a white and a black for an instant, where you can exile target creature. If you don't control a human, you lose life equal to that creature's toughness. Ideally, since a good chunk of our deck is humans, we don't have to terribly worry about the downside of this. But even if we do, it is nice to be able to exile a creature for 2 mana, since there are plenty of problem creatures in the format. The next removal spell we have is Skyclave Apparition. For 1 and 2 white, makes a 2/2 core spirit when it enters the battlefield. We exile up to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent and that we don't control, cost 4 or less. And when the apparition leaves the battlefield, the exile card owner creates a XX blue illusion creature token, where X is the converted mana cost. While this is not a human by itself, it is a good enough removal on a body that we don't mind running a non-synergy card. The Skyclave is particularly good in that it helps to deal with not only a wide variety of relatively early aggressive threats, it also permanently removes them. So we almost never really mind giving our opponent the 1/1 in question, or the XX in question, where it is almost always better than the one thing we removed. The next removal spell we are running, we run 4 Bedevils, which is 2 black and a red for an instant, where you can destroy target artifact, creature, or planeswalker. Bedevil is a nice sort of catch-all removal to hit most things that say a Skyclave can't or a Dire Tactics can't. It's just a nice, good removal spell that I think if you're running black and red in the format, you should probably be running. Our last removal spell, we have 2 Conclave Tribunals, which is 3 and a white for an enchantment with Convoke, where when it enters the battlefield, we exile a target non-land permanent and opponent controls until Conclave Tribunal leaves the battlefield. This is an actual catch-all removal that can make use of our board state. If we feel our board is clogged up and we don't want to attack, we can cash in the creatures to help pay for Conclave Tribunal using the Convoke mechanic. The next category will be our sort of supporting cast of cards. We run 4 Thoughtseize, which is 1 black for a sorcery, where target player reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card, and you lose 2 life. A Thoughtseize early on, or even late game, is nice for 2 reasons. It is nice to be able to get a good amount of information, so we can make a more informed play. And it sort of functions as a removal spell for the card in question. But in this instance, we don't remove it from the board, we remove it from their hand before it becomes a problem at all. Our next supporting spell is Unbreakable Formation, which is 2 and a white for an instant that says creatures you control gain indestructible until the end of the turn. And if you addendum cast it, which is if you cast this spell during your main phase, put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures, and they gain vigilance until the end of the turn. Unbreakable Formation is nice as a sweeper protection card, as well as it sort of pulls a double duty in that you can also cast it as a sort of board buff, kind of close out the game card if you need it to. Our last bit of support is Valiket Awakening, which is 3 in a red for an instant, where we can put any number of cards from our hand on the bottom of our library, then we draw that many cards +1. We also have the additional bonus of being able to cast the Stone Forge if we need to play the land just so we don't miss a land drop. But of course, we will ideally be casting the Awakening half as a way to cash in dead cards in our hand, and hopefully find a card in our deck that we need that can help answer a situation in that particular point in time. We can also just use it to cash in a handful of lands. Now on to our land base. I'm running 2 mountains, 2 swamps, and 2 plains. Also running 3 Fabled Passage as a nice sort of form of fixing. And we run 1 Castle Ardenvale as another nice mana sink, as well as the ability to create a lot of 1/1 white human tokens, which our deck very much enjoys. Also running basically 4 of each relevant shock land as a way to get some color fixing. We don't super mind the life loss, although you do have to be careful not to kill yourself too fast. We also run 3 Savai Triomes as another form of color fixing, as well as if we need to cash it in late game for another card, we could always just cycle it for 3. Our sideboard, we run 2 Grafdigger's Cages, as an additional form of Graveyard Hate, as well as a little bit of hate on the Muxus matchup, or a Collected Company matchup if you feel that is a problem. I'm running 2 Legion's End, which is 1 and a black for a sorcery that says exile target creature an opponent controls with a converted mana cost of 2 or less, and all other creatures that player controls with the same name as that creature. Then that player reveals their hand and exiles all cards with the same name from their hand and graveyard. This card does a myriad of things. If you are against another low-to-the-ground aggressive deck, it can function as a sort of Maelstrom Pulse style sweeper. It also exiles the card not only from the board, but it gets rid of the card in question from your opponent's hand and their graveyard. So, say if you're scared of opposing Death Shadows, if that gets popular, or opponents' Cauldron Familiars, or Young Pyromancers, or even Croxes, or Rakdos Arcanist. This will really, really help to deal with cards that are low to the ground that people want to be running playsets of, and to have on the field or in their hand at all points in time. We're also running Justice Strike as a sort of removal spell for bigger creatures. Looking at you, Phyrexian Obliterator. We're running 2 Crippling Fears as a sweeper that doesn't hit our own board. The only downside is the occasional odd human will be run in opposing decks, at which point it won't kill another human. But that is very rare, but it isn't so rare that you'll never see it. This could be, say, a Settle the Wreckage, if you don't like that potential downside. I'm just running Crippling Fears since it seems more fitting to me. But of course, do you. Against the control matchups, we have control and your really grindy mid-range matchups, really. We run 2 Chandra Tortured Defiance and 3 Chandra Awakened Inferno as ways to pull up against an opposing, again, longer, or an opposing deck that wants to make the game go longer. And the fact that Chandra is a human is a nice little flavor win. We also run 1 Heliod's Intervention, which is X and 2 white, or double white, for an instant that allows you to choose 1, where you destroy target artifacts and or enchantments, or you can have target player gains twice X life. It is a card that you bring in when you either want to deal with a large, air quotes, amount of artifact and enchantments from your opponent's board, or if you're really needing the lifelink, or like 1 turn of a lot of life gain to turn the corner against an aggro or burn deck. And that is the deck tech for Mardu humans. If you're just here for the deck tech, thank you all for watching. Liked if you liked the video, sub if you like me, and if you have any sort of, say, budget replacement questions or what have you, leave a comment down below. And now we'll go on to game number 1. And that's right, we're back to having the games. Our little experiment told me all I needed to know. Anywho, on to game number 1. Game number 1 with Mardu humans. Let's see, we'll go ahead and keep this. Our opponent plays first. Probably just Thoughtseize on 1, Thalia on 2, more than likely. Go ahead and see what our opponent has in store. Oh, okay, or some sort of weird shapeshifter thing. They can go ahead and make me discard something. I don't super care. We'll probably get rid of probably a swamp. Again, we'll just keep to the original plan. Probably play a General's Enforcer next turn. I'm sorry, am I playing against Rat Tribal? I will go ahead and get the other swamp and play the Enforcer. Gonna go ahead and attack. I must admit, I'm into some Rat Tribal. I think we'll just go ahead and Skyclave away their rat colony. Even if they play their Maskwood Nexus next turn, that's fine. Since it's a 4-mana, I don't add to the board card. Yeah, we'll go ahead and play General Kudro. Make our creatures stronger, and just start swinging. His decision not to block is a little questionable, but that's fine. You have successfully made it 2-2. We shall go ahead and... Hang on, how much does this cost? It is 4, so we'll go ahead and Skyclave away your... Well, hold on, let me... If I... Yeah, we'll go... Hang on. If I take away their rat colony, I swing with a 2, a 3, a 2... So there's no way I win this turn, so we'll just go ahead and take their Maskwood so we can inhibit their ability to generate blockers. Go ahead and attack with the indestructible creatures. Maybe get our opponent... Well, they have to block, otherwise they're dead. Our opponent is now relying on top decks. Well, pretty good game 1. Or match 1 of game 1. Honestly, I think we don't really need to do a whole lot that I can imagine. I think we just run it again. Although, Sneaky Elephant 5, I applaud your commitment to Rat Changeling Tribal. Ah yes, the train. You tell him, toot toot. I believe we shall go ahead and play the Triumph first. Worst case scenario, we get forced to discard something weird. We'll probably play one of our shock lands next turn. And we won't pay for it. Ah, Piper of the Swarm. Very nice. We'll go ahead and get a second white source down. So I can Skyclave that next turn. See what our opponent has. Some Realm Walkers. Here's a Blitjara. What's that last one? Choose up to one target creature or planeswalker. Each creature with power 4 or less deals damage to it. We'll get rid of their removal in hand. And yes, I'm aware that it's some very weird eventual removal, but does he name Rat? I imagine Rat. Advisor. Does he have that one blue advisor whose name I can't remember? We'll go ahead and Blood Crypt, and we will get rid of probably the Piper. The big question is, what do we play next turn? He does! Oh, no. That's... I mean, okay, I'm in it. We're gonna go ahead and play a tapped shockland. We're gonna attack because we need to... It's been so long. Tap 4, untapped, target. Oh my god. I'm hoping that by them attacking... Oh, Jesus Christ. This is good. I mean, they happen to draw the nuts. I can't really begrudge them. We'll go ahead and let it through. I would argue that was a mistake, but I understand why they did it. We're going to go ahead and conclave the Realm Walker. We want to take away as much of their card advantage as we can. I'm actually going to get rid of one of the Petitioners, which will force him to activate the ability now. This way I can push damage to our opponent's face. More than enough cards to eat a couple of these. I applaud your commitment to the bit. Since we're going to need to... Also, this goes to a game 3. We're bringing in Legion's End and stuff. We can't bring in... Wow, that actually messes it up. So we'll bring in the Legion's End. Go ahead and take my Shockland. To help deal with the Petitioners, as that is the main meat of the combo. I think we'll probably get rid of a Realm Walker. See if our opponent in response taps his advisors. Very well might. God damn. Or sorry, we conclaved it. Sorry. My brain is all over the place. I think we honestly just attack. We need to apply some amount of pressure here. Have to make him block somehow, since we might actually lose this game. We will probably take out the indestructible spell whose name I can't remember at this particular point in time, because this deck runs like no removal. Other than the Legion's End, I don't know if we bring in much, seeing how the petitioners are humans. And him being a changeling mean he's also a human, so we can't really do this like we're wanting to. We'll go ahead and get rid of, I guess, a Realm Walker. And then we'll play a Kudro after it. If they're going to activate, they're going to need to do it now. Well, we don't need to do it now. We still got some cards. We don't have a lot. We are on a clock here. This will also allow... Let's see. Get rid of the Realm Walker. This will allow our Judith to hit their Petitioner, so we can deal with that. He may very well just choose to take it, which is an option. He makes the trade. He might make me mill a card USA in response. Unbreakable Formation, that's the name of the card. One would imagine he has another one in hand, otherwise he wouldn't have taken that block. Granted, I could be wrong. Until he just I'm not even really that mad. I love this guy's deck. I imagine we'll be going, crap. We'll let our opponent get the, as long as they're not BM about it and they just, like, do the combo. Okay, so he had another one in hand. As long as they do it now, because they have to in order for this to work. They earned a win with a very fun archetype, sorry. Why did that card stop being memed about? Anyhow, a couple of Legion's Ends are coming in, and the Unbreakable Formations are coming out. Can't afford to run the Crippling Fear, since pretty much all of their combo pieces are either humans natively or are changelings, which, for our example, might as well count as humans. Go ahead and play first. This is an okay opener. We will Sacred Foundry tapped on turn 1, and then turn 2 probably just play a Thalia, and then an Enforcer, and then we'll just attempt to beat our opponent down before we get milled out. Since we do know what our opponent is doing, and boy is it a spicy one. Keep with the original game plan. I would love to draw a untapped land so we can play Kudro next turn and push more damage. But even if we don't, we have a play to do regardless. Okay, that's technically... Oh, you're half what I wanted, so I can't be too upset. No point in attacking, as they can simply block and kill the Thalia. See if our opponent plays another Petitioner next turn. A Realm Walker is close enough. Let's see. We'll go ahead and activate this now. Look for probably a white source, as it's more or less the best thing to get for our deck. We shall... Yeah, we'll go ahead and play Kudro, though. Again, we want to apply a lot of damage. Next turn, we can start removing our opponent's stuff. As I imagine, they will probably play 2 advisors next turn to activate the petitioners. Or the petitioners, sorry. Not puh. Another 2 mana from our opponent. It is kind of what I expect. Go ahead and get rid of the Realm Walker. If they're going to do it, they're going to activate it now, but they're going to also take 9 damage for having done so, which is a trade that I am comfortable with making. Since, as I've already alluded to, the only way we win this is by applying appropriate pressure. Next turn, we can play a Bedevil, clear another one, and see if they make the same mistake. A Burglar's Rat can go ahead and take the General's Enforcer. Opponent does have another Petitioner, but it won't terribly matter. That'll be a good game. Stick with the original plan. We'll go ahead and get rid of a Petitioner. It does take up mana to do that. Better yet, we'll do another Dire Tactics. Of course, we won't be BM. We'll try and close out the game really fast. Wow, okay. And this is fair. This is the correct play to make. See what our opponent does. They have to block with... or each one has to be blocked, otherwise they do die. Go ahead and see what our opponent does. They might just play some more... They need to play 2 blockers, which a collected company can get them, though they do have to spend their entire turn's worth of mana due to Thalia's tax effect. They did not brick. Credit given to where credit is due. But sometimes you just happen to draw what you need. Good game, friend. Very fun deck from our opponent, and a good showing from Mardu humans. Now on, to game number 2. Game number 2 with Mardu humans. Go ahead and play, or be on the play. It's not a great hand, but it's got lands. And can eventually do something, so... Let's not look at Gift Horse and the Malfindal. Probably a... no. Some sort of mono blacklist, I imagine. As that is what usually runs a Shadow Spear. We'll go ahead and Skyclave away their Scrap Heap. I love that card, by the way. It's just not that powerful, as far as I can tell. Eliminate is fine. Probably go ahead and play a General Kudro. I believe our opponent is, yes, having Shadow Spear priority held. Of course, if they do equip the thing in question, or the token in question, with the Shadow Spear, we go ahead and not block that one. Another eliminate. We'll go ahead and play a Judith the Scourge Diva. See what our opponent does. We're not totally adverse. Okay, that's fine. Whew, pardon me. You can take one removal spell, but you can't take them both. Our opponent is running some weird mono-black thing. We will go ahead and block it. And with the Judith trigger, we'll go ahead and ping down the creature. We'll go ahead and kill the kite sail so we can get the dire attack. I don't have the mana for that. That's right. Plan number 2. Because that would have been the black mana. I should have did it the other way, but that's fine. I'm just a dum-dum. Opponent plays a Plague Crafter? I mean, okay, that's a play one can make. I officially, though, have no idea at all what our opponent is running. Go ahead and probably grab a swamp. I think that is the cats playing with a toy in the other room. Since we don't want to lose the life, we'll go ahead and bedevil this. We don't mind the Shadow Spear as much, as long as we can kill whatever it's equipped to. Although, that losing an indestructible thing is actually kind of relevant against us. I don't think it's going to be like the end of the world relevant, and there's no way this card doesn't die. He has to have like another eliminate. Or insert removal spell here. Hey, I was right the first time. I do believe, though, that we'll take this game. It might just take a little while, but that's fine. No harm, no foul, and all that. Alright. Now, are you going to play something after that discard? Nope. Of course, I'm flooding out, which totally sucks. Okay, so the Justice Strike is the appropriate thing to bring in here. I will get rid of and eliminate. Why not? We need... yeah, we need to draw like another human, and then we can sack the general and the human to kill the obliterator. Haha! Your Thoughtseize will not save you now. And that is the correct play. Go ahead and let it through. Okay. Hooray! We'll just go ahead and go to game 2. We don't win. We needed to draw an answer that turn. And we did not. That is all. Bring in some Justice Strikes. Probably get rid of some Thoughtseizes since we have a rough idea of what our opponent's running now. So our opponent's deck does not appear to be like a mono black devotion on its own, although maybe he just didn't hit the Kari. We have Justice Strikes in hand. As long as he doesn't repeatedly attack our hand, we should be okay. That's a good start. Another turn that our Justice Strikes are safe in hand, the better. It's a Scrap Heap Scrounger. I think we'll just play the Triumph. Can go ahead and eat one turn of a Scrap Heap Scrounger. The world's not going to end. A Phyrexian Arena is a nice touch. Maybe they are mono black devotion and they just didn't hit the payoff card like Kari. Guess we'll play the other Triumph and just play a Judith to answer the Scrappy. Again, fingers crossed that he actually plays like an Obliterator. Since I hope the Obliterator works out. Yeah, Phyrexian Tower's legendary land, dude. He couldn't have meant to do that. Actually taking the Bedevil is like a huge... Yeah, that actually really fucks me up right now. That fucking sucks. We'll go ahead and get rid of it, though. That is a very particular card that, like, really fucks up our plan a little bit here. Like, we'll live. It's fine. Does our opponent have any other creatures in the yard? Nope, just itself and a Phyrexian Tower. Crawling Barrens. Raldric Banner. Oh, that's a dumb play. Why would you do that? You had to have known that was a bad play. I'm sorry. Did I auto-skip through my turn or something? Which, granted, is very possible. Am I high? Or am I just, like, really missing something? I'm so very confused. That is super fucking confusing. Whatever. It's not the end of the world, I suppose. That Bajuka Bug doesn't terribly mess us up, so we don't mind that too much. Gonna try and keep this Justice Strike for Obliterator and hope to God it ruins his day. As I believe we have one more in the deck. It's gonna hit us with a Crawling Barrens, and that's fine. Please stop drawing lands. You're killing me here, game. I believe I can win this game if you give me, like, any gas. And we kind of have to keep the Justice Strike as a, like, oh shit, I'm about to die card. See what our opponent does. If not, just pump a Crawling Barrens. I suppose with Crawling Barrens, there are 3 really notable man lands. I guess 4. There's Crawling Barrens, there's Faceless Haven, Mutavault, or whatever the hell that thing is in Historic Anthology 4. And I guess also Mobilized District, that's the other one that doesn't see play at all. Or anymore. We're gonna really need to draw a removal spell here. And not another fucking land. I really hate that we have to do this, but we, like, really do. Otherwise, we just immediately die. Kind of a crap way to lose a game. I gotta be honest, it really, like, annoys me. In all actuality. Go ahead, discard 2 cards, and you return a thing from the yard. Fucking life is miserable. Okay, that's a thing. I can do something with that. If he spends all his mana for the turn, making the Crawling Barrens very big, please stop killing my stuff. To our opponent's credit, this deck is, like, actually, like, interesting and working. I suppose our opponent could activate a Castle Lochthwain. Skyclave shit. Okay, they're just running a pile of cards. There was no way I'd know. But again, credit given where it's due, it's gonna actually win the game. Oh, it's the Heraldic Banner that's buffing their power. That's actually not miserable. That weirdly actually allows me to live for a little while. It's not for long, and it's not, like, ideal by any stretch of the imagination. If they have another removal spell, we just immediately lose, and fair play to our opponent. Okay. That's a thing you can do. No way, we just fucking die. We don't immediately just die. I can think of like a turn or two played where we don't die, but that's about it. Probably sacks it. As one does. And he has a fucking removal spell? God damn. Well played, opponent. Well played. Man, I want Mardu humans to be better than it is. The deck as a whole, it'll get you to platinum, but boy, it isn't going to climb past that. But that was fun. But that was Mardu humans. And I think that'll be all for today's video. If you liked the video in question, go ahead and like it. If you like me, subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments down below, just keep it civil. And remember, I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together.